It's time to review the best set in all of Star Wars Unlimited. Hello and welcome to the table, and today I'm going to be doing a full set review for the latest Star Wars Unlimited set, Jump to Lightspeed, and let's kick things off with the leaders and the bases. The first leader being Asajj Ventress. Now we have already talked about Asajj Ventress a little bit on this channel, so I'm going to go over her pretty briefly. Basically, you can exhaust her once per turn, deal the damage to one of your dudes, and then you get to deal damage to an opposing unit in the same arena, and once you have 6 resources, you can flip Asajj into, I don't know why I did that, you can either flip her into a 4-6 with grit, or you can put her onto one of your vehicles without a pilot on it as a 3-4 with grit, and on attack you get to do the same thing as you would do on the front side. So pretty decent. I mean, it's not the most powerful leader in the set by any means, but it's fine. I think it'll do okay going into the next meta. But Thrawn, I think, is way cooler. Maybe not as strong, I don't know. But whenever you use a when defeated ability, you may exhaust this leader to use that ability a second time around, which is really, really cool. It's not really powerful by any means. It can be, but it's not. It's decent. But once he has 6 resources, he flips into a 4-7. That's basically the same thing. So it's fine. It's unfortunate that it's not as strong as I want it to be, but it just is. But we got Lando as well, who also kind of stinks. All of the Vigilance leaders in this set are not the strongest by any means, but the rest of them, they start to go up in quality pretty quick. But with Lando, basically, it's like a worse version of Luke. You can spend a resource, exhaust him, play a unit from your hand, and then if you control a unit in the ground and space arena, then you give a shield token to the unit that you just played, and once you have 7 resources, Lando flips into a 5-7 Sentinel or a 5-5 upgrade that gives the attached unit Sentinel, and then you get to give a shield token out to a unit in a different arena than, the ground arena, basically. So it's fine. It's not great by any means. It's unfortunate it's a 7 flip. I think if it was like a 6 or a 5, it would be a lot better, even if the stats went down. But, who knows. But then there's Rose Tico. It's awful. You can heal damage from vehicle units that attack this phase, and then on the backside, it's a 4-6 that does the same thing. It's good and limited, but outside of that, it's not. It just, unfortunately, is not very good. I don't think this leader's going to see play at all. Unlike maybe the best leader in the whole set, Admiral Piet, if you'll load. Basically, there we go. Now he's loading. But as an action, you can exhaust him, play a capital ship, and it costs 1 less. And then once you have 5 resources, he flips into a 2-7. That makes your capital ships cost 2 less. Basically, Omega Ramp for space units. Basically, it's the better Count Dooku. In the last set, I wanted to play Count Dooku because big, massive space units. And this leader's like, okay, I'm going to play those, but more efficiently and without having to do all of this. Yeah, it's so much better and so much more powerful because some of the best units in the game are capital ships. And when you count the space arena only, then they are the best units in the game. But yeah, Admiral Piet being able to ramp into those super quickly, being able to play like a 9-cost card on turn, I think, 3 or 4, is just absurdly powerful. So, he's really fun, and I'm looking forward to playing him and making a deck for him pretty soon, in theory, depending on if, stuff likes to work. But Darth Vader is the next leader that I got, which is not as powerful as Piet, but still pretty solid in my opinion. I still think Vader's a pretty solid leader. You can exhaust him once a turn as an action, and if you've attacked with a non-token vehicle, you can create a TIE Fighter. Decent enough, and once you have 6 resources, it's either a 5-6, or it deploys as a 5-5 upgrade that makes 2 TIE Fighters. I mean, it's just solid. It's a really good beatdown, go-wide space deck. It's kind of like a better Tarkin, in a sense, from like the old sets. The version of Tarkin that I made, at least, is go super wide, smash, and then have a powerful late game. This is basically what Darth Vader is. Go super wide, deploy Darth Vader, as that upgrade, or that 5/6 speeder if you need it, and then just smash the opponent into the ground, and then just beat him to death. And then there's Admiral Holdo, a big step down from the last couple of leaders, the last 2 leaders, but it's decent enough. As an action for 1, you can give a resistance unit or a unit with a resistance upgrade +2/+2, which is a solid buff, don't get me wrong. Once you have 6 resources, flips into a 3/8 that on attack, it does the same thing. It gives that +2/+2 buff. So if you can get it to work, it can be really powerful. It's just a matter of actually getting the cards together to make it work. So, yeah. But the next leader, Wedge Antilles, might be the second or third best leader in the set. I haven't really played with them enough to know for sure, but Wedge is a absurdly powerful leader. As an action, you can play a unit with piloting from your hand, and it costs 1 less to pilot, which is kind of nuts, honestly, because Chewbacca, for example, a super rare coming out of this set, is really powerful. It's a 3-cost upgrade. It gives +3/+3 and makes it really hard to interact with the thing that you put Chewbacca on. And this, you can basically say, all right, turn 1, I'm going to play this card. Very next turn, I'm going to put this upgrade down on Chewie and then be able to play a 1-cost thing, maybe another upgrade on something, or it's just really good. It's just really good. You can ramp with this guy, which any leader that can ramp or cheat with resources, I mean, Piet, as an example, generally are pretty strong. And if they're not, well, usually there's a big drawback. And with this guy, with Wedge, there is 0 drawback. I mean, yes, it can only be pilots, but I mean, just go space aggro. And once you have 5 resources, either is a 3/6 or it's a 3/4 upgrade that on attack, it's the same thing on the front side. The next card you pilot costs 1 less. I mean, what? Or the next pilot card you play. So, I mean, yeah, it's just so good. But then there's Boba Fett. This guy is pretty fun, in my opinion, because it's probably going to be one of the best indirect damage decks. When you deal non-combat damage, you can deal 1 indirect damage to a player, exhausting Boba Fett. And once you have 6 resources, it's either a 4/7 or it's a 4/4 upgrade that's like a mini Emperor Palpatine, OG Emperor Palpatine from the first set. You deal 4 damage divided as you choose them on any number of units. It's solid. It's not the greatest by any means, but it's still a pretty powerful leader if you can get it to work. I think there are going to be better indirect damage decks, but I feel like that this one, for this set, like if you're just counting this set, it's pretty fun and solid. But not as, I mean, Captain Phasma is a lot worse, but this guy is a lot better. But until then, Captain Phasma, it's kind of like a Villainous Sabine deck, but worse in a sense because it's tribal-based. Sabine is to a point, but with Captain Phasma, it's forced to go that route, and there isn't nearly enough First Order cards. So you get to deal 1 damage to a base. It's not each base like with Sabine, which is better, but you have to have played a First Order card this phase in order to deal that 1 damage, which makes it a lot worse. And once you have 5 resources, it's a 4/6 that on attack. If you've played another First Order card this phase, you get to deal 1 damage to a unit and 1 damage to a base, which is solid, better than Sabine's on attack, but it flips 1 turn later. It's a better body, but again, it's got that downside, that drawback of having you needing to play a First Order unit, which there are First Order units in the game, don't get me wrong, especially with additions from this set, but it's not enough. It is definitely not enough. Which I'm fine with, there not being a second villainous version of Sabine in this game, so there is that. But then there's Major Von Reg. This guy has an action, you can play a vehicle from your hand, paying its cost, and then you can give another unit +1 power for the phase. Decent enough. And once you have 4 resources, early flip, it's either a 2/5, fine body, or it's a 3/3 upgrade that on attack with the thing that you put this on, gives another +1 power buff to a unit in the same arena for the phase, which is solid enough. I mean, it's like a 4/3 upgrade in a sense, except it's distributing it out a little bit. So, I mean, it's pretty powerful but I don't know. It's just, I like that with this set, the aggression leaders in Villainous are not that powerful because aggression is just so powerful in a lot of ways. I mean, Cunning is the best aspect in this game, but aggression is really, really close. And with most of the sets in this game having really busted aggression leaders, thankfully usually not in Villainous, which is probably a good thing because Villainous is better than Heroism in a lot of ways. But with Major Von Reg, it's powerful, but it's definitely not over the top, which I'm very happy about again. And just like that, Luke is a really powerful leader, a very powerful aggression leader in Heroism, but it's not as powerful as Sabine, which I do like. This is kind of like a space version of Sabine. Sabine is just like go everywhere, deal as much damage as possible everywhere, all at once. But with Luke, it's like we're going to focus mostly on space because if you've attacked with a fighter, you can deal damage to a unit. Not the base, importantly, so it's not like guaranteed damage to the base every single turn. Plus, you have to attack with a fighter first off, so there is that too. And then once you have 6 resources, not 4, big difference. It's either a 5/6 or a broken upgrade. It's a 4/5 upgrade that says this upgrade can't be defeated by enemy card abilities, which a very powerful card that's gonna be way more powerful than it's previously been in previous sets. That 3 resource aggression card, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it defeats an upgrade when you play it. There are a lot of ways to just defeat an upgrade, and some of the best leaders in this set flip as upgrades, and you want to flip them as upgrades. And with Luke, it's like, okay, I can flip this as an upgrade and comfortably think that this upgrade at least is not going to go away. The opponent might have to kill the unit that this upgrade is on in order to get rid of it, but still, it makes the opponent have to jump through more hoops than just outright destroying the upgrade in Luke. And again, 4/5 upgrade, and on attack, if the thing is a fighter that you're putting this upgrade on, you get to deal 3 damage to a unit. That's really, really solid damage. Basically, it makes it really hard for the opponent to keep down stuff on the board because you're dealing damage to it all the time, making sure that you can keep up your aggression without the opponent being able to remove it very efficiently. And then it's just a really solid buff, too, and hard to get rid of that buff. Really solid. But it flips at 6. That is the important thing. But then there's Poe, which I'm glad that Poe is not nearly as good in Constructed as he will be in Limited. Once per turn as an action for 1, you can flip him into an upgrade, put him on a vehicle, and it's a 2/1 upgrade that can, for 1 resource, kind of switch where it's attached to another vehicle without a pilot on it. And otherwise, once you have 6 resources, you can flip him in, or 5 resources, sorry, you can flip him into a 4/6. So, I mean, it's decent. Again, it's a lot better in Limited because you're constantly going to get value out of your space units that maybe not be as well statted as you want them to be, but with Poe, they become a lot betterly statted, and they're guaranteed going to be able to, yeah. But Poe, basically, the way that I like to look at it, comparing Poe and Luke as far as Limited versus Constructed, Poe is really good in Limited, really, really good in Limited, and Luke is good, but not great. But then in Constructed, Luke is flipping with Poe, sorry. And now Luke is really good, and Poe is good, but not great. But still, decent enough leader. But then we get to Cunning, which I am really glad to say that there is not a single Cunning deck in this set that I can see that will break the game, which I'm very happy about, because Cunning just always seems to put out one leader that is absurdly cracked and busted no matter what set it is, but in this set, nothing too crazy. Admiral Trench, I'm not going to even go over him. Admiral Trench is just awful garbage. Probably the worst leader in the entire set. This card is just not going to be played at all. Sure, you can flip him multiple times, but you have to spend 3 resources, and then you got to look through your deck, and then the opponent has to give you 2 of the worst cards out of the top 4, and then you get to pick one of them, so you get to pick 1 card out of the 2 worst cards of the top 4 of your deck. Once you flip Admiral Trench, when you have 6 resources, having to spend 3, and then it's a 4/5, and it's just really, really bad. And then, I mean, sure, the front side maybe is decent. I mean, you discard a card from your hand that costs 3 or more, but then you can draw a card, so it's filtering a little. But yeah, this guy's just awful. Just awful. But then there is Rio Durant, which is way better, but still not good enough to where this is going to be another Cunning Villainy deck that just breaks the game. But It is still fun. It is still some fun space aggression kind of value. It's kind of like a Major Von Reg, but in Cunning, in a sense. You have to spend a resource, though, and attack with a space unit instead of just nothing. You're not attacking with Von Reg, but you get that +1 power buff, and that's what Rio Durant's doing. You don't have to play a space unit vehicle from your hand, but the attack the space unit that you're attacking with Rio gets Saboteur for the attack, which is good because if the opponent has Sentinel, then you get to say no. So that's good. And then once you have 5 resources, you flip Rio into either a 3/5 Saboteur, which is not good, or a 3/5 upgrade that gives the thing Saboteur, and if it's an transport that you're putting the Rio upgrade onto, it gets an additional +1 power buff. So it could be a 4/5 power buff and a Saboteur stapled onto whatever thing you're upgrading with Rio, and it upgrades at 5 resources, which is pretty good. Again, it's not busted, but it is still solid nonetheless. But then there is Admiral Akbar. This guy is fun, I guess. As an action for 1, you can exhaust a non-leader unit. If you control, if you do, its controller creates an X-Wing, which is a 2/2 space unit. And once you have 6 resources, 3/8, that does the same thing. So, it's fine. It's not great, but it's decent enough, I guess. So, I don't know. I don't really see the appeal of Akbar. But then there's Han. This guy is the other super rare leader of the set. As an action, you can exhaust him, reveal the top card of your deck, and then attack with a unit. If the revealed card and that unit you're attacking with have different odd costs, then that unit gets +1 power for the attack. It seems like a lot just to get 1 damage, honestly. And once you have 5 resources, it's a 3/7 or a 3/4 upgrade that when deployed as an upgrade for each friendly unit or upgrade that has an odd cost, ready a resource. It's not very good. And then there's Kazuda. Probably out of all of the Cunning leaders, this guy's the best, which kind of surprised me because when I first saw him, I'm like, this guy doesn't seem very good. But there is a lot of units in this game that have really big downsides that are abilities, such as Millennium Falcon, one of the better space units ever, maybe one of the best space units ever, and Kazuda is like, okay, those downsides go away. As an action, you can exhaust Kazuda, and then one of your friendly units loses all abilities for the round, and you get to take an extra action phase after this one. So if you play something that costs 3, and it's a 4/4 ambush, and at the end of the phase you have to defeat it, you can use Kazuda, and then say, nope, that thing is not going to get defeated at the end of the phase, and I still get to play this for its ambush, and then get value out of it until it goes away. And by the way, that is a card in the set, so if you already know, then... Anyways, once you have 4 resources, you then get to flip Kazuda into a 2/5 that on attack says you can choose any number of friendly units, and then they lose all abilities for the round, which is good because then you can, if you have 1 Millennium Falcon, one of the unit that I just brought up a second ago, that 3-cost 4/4 ambush, that defeats itself at the end of the phase. And then, let's say 1 or 2 more other units that have really big downsides for abilities. Kaz, you have attack, and then boom, they all lose all their abilities, and then none of the downsides. Or it can be a 3/3 upgrade that on attack does the same thing. So either way, really solid effect out of Kaz. Really surprising, honestly. But then, there are the bases. I mean, it's a bunch of 30 health bases, but there are some rare ones. There's the Colossus, a 35 health base that says you draw 1 less card in your starting hand. Which, honestly, I think that this base is going to see the most play out of the bases that at least have more health than 30, more than the 30 health average. Mostly, I think Colossus is going to see play in Blue Piet, a deck that I'm going to be building, because that just seems like the most fun Piet to me, because I'm a jerk. But Colossus is just a really good way to say, alright, I'm going to give myself just enough health for control decks I'm playing, or decks that are maybe a little bit more mid-rangey control-y, and once I get the time that I need, and thanks to this extra health boost, I can get that time, well, then I can actually kill you. Then I can actually beat you because of this health buff. Sure, I draw one less card, but I still think it's fine. But then there's Data Vault, a 33 health base in green that says your minimum deck size is increased by 10. Which is awful. Honestly, I think this base is not going to see play. If it does, then I don't think the deck that it's going to be played in is going to be very good. But yeah. Yeah. Data Vault, not great. But then there is Thermal Oscillator. Yep. I'm saying that, right? It's a 27 health base. It says your minimum deck size is decreased by 5, which is a lot better. But I still don't know if it's going to see play over Tarkin Town. So, I don't know. Maybe. Maybe it'll see play. Maybe it won't. I'm not sure, though. But then there is Nabat Village, a 27 health base that's really good. This base is really good. It says you draw 3 more cards in your starting hand, and you cannot take a mulligan, which is fine, because when you draw 3 extra cards, I mean, you get a lot of more cards to choose from. But then when the first action phase starts, you put 3 cards from your hand on the bottom of your deck in any order. So you might be thinking to yourself, well, I don't go up any more cards, and I lose 3 health. What's the point? Well, you still get to draw 3 extra cards off the start, so you get to take the 2 worst cards, or yeah, probably the 2 worst cards and resource them. And then 3 cards that you don't want, that you want to save for later, just ship them to the bottom. And you basically picked the best, what would that be, 4 cards out of the top 8. So, I mean, you get to look at a lot of your deck right off the bat and pick out the best cards of that bunch right off the bat. So you immediately get a massive advantage in your hand over your opponent pretty much every single time. Which, considering that you only are losing 3 health for this effect, I think it's really solid. Sure, you can't take a mulligan, but I don't think you need to. I mean, there are going to be rare cases where you don't draw a 1-cost card to play, and then you're just kind of stuck doing nothing on the first turn. But then every turn afterwards, who knows? Maybe you get exactly what you need, and then you get to... Yeah, very, 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 very powerful base, and I cannot wait to play this in decks somewhere. I am going to find a deck in this set, shove this into it, and say, let's see what happens, you know? So, on what base would I put this in? Or what deck would I put this in? I don't know, I gotta think about that. But then, lastly, there's Lake Country. It's just an aspectless base with 34 health. So you can play a 2-aspect color deck, but you get 4 extra health. I don't really see where this would be good outside of Limited. I think this could be a very good base in Limited, depending on how much you get of certain aspects, but I don't know. I don't know. But then we're finally getting into the units, the events, and the upgrades. There are a lot of cards to cover, so let's get into it. Starting off with Vigilance. Director Cunning being the first card that I'm going to discuss. This guy is a 2-cost, 2/2 shielded in blue and black that says the first unit you play each round that has a 1 defeated ability costs 1 less. Pretty solid. It's harder to remove than you would think. It's kind of like a crafty smuggler with bonuses going on. So that's cool. And I mean, it makes your stuff with 1 defeated cost a little bit less, which can be very helpful. I mean, there are some really big cards with 1 defeated abilities, like, Avenger doesn't have a 1 defeated. But to put it as an example, let's say when Avenger did have a 1 defeated ability, you'd be able to put it out 1 turn earlier than you normally would, thanks to Krennic. And if Krennic sticks around long enough, I mean, it is a 2/2 shielded, so it's likely to, then you can do that. But if you're not getting Krennic to stick, then the opponent's spending resources getting rid of Krennic, which is good for you, because this is just a 2-cost, 2/2 shielded. Not a great body. And the later the opponent removes it, the better and more value it is for you. So in decks like Thrawn, I feel like this guy could be very solid. But then there's Onyx Squadron Brute, a 2-cost, 2/3 that has a 1 defeat ability to heal 2 damage from a base. Pretty solid. In a deck like Thrawn, this guy's great. In a deck outside of Thrawn, I can see it having use cases, but not really a ton. I mean, maybe in a deck like Asajj, I think you might be able to play something like this, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Because this would be kind of one of the units that you would want to have defeated, and I think in a deck like Asajj, that would be fine. This would be a good thing to target repeatedly with her ability, or the on-attack on the backside if you flip it as an upgrade. But then there's Interceptor Ace, a 3-cost, 2/3 grit. Not a great body, really, at all. Or it can pilot for 3 resources, and it's a 2/3 upgrade that gives the attached unit grit. It's solid. It's a common, so I mean, you don't really expect it to do that much. But it would definitely be a lot better if it was 2 for a 2/3 grit, or 2 for a 2/3 upgrade that gives the thing grit. But that probably would be too good, realistically speaking. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, grit's good, but I don't think it's that good for a common to... I don't know. Then there's Tam Revora. I think I might have actually said that right. 3 resource, 2/5. Not a 3/5, but it's fine. But it can pilot for 2 resources to give a 2/2 buff, and on an attack, the thing that you pilot gives an enemy space unit -1/-1 for the face. It has to be in the same arena, but it can allow you to more effectively take down opposing space units, which, with this set caring a lot about space units, this card I could see getting played. Again, I don't really know what decks that would be played in outside of decks like maybe Asajj or other Vigilance control decks that I don't really know the names of. I mean, maybe something like Akira, but I'm honestly not 100% sure. But I could see this card seeing play, maybe somewhere. I don't know. Then there's Iden Versio, a 4 resource, 4/3 shielded. Pretty solid. Shielded is a powerful keyword, and as an upgrade for 3, you can give a 3/3 upgrade to a thing, and then when this upgrade is attached to a unit, you give a shield token to that unit. So basically, it's kind of like a 3/3 shielded upgrade, which is really, really good for 3 resources. Yeah, I mean, it makes one of your things. If you stick this onto a unit that can control the space arena really, really efficiently, then this upgrade will make that thing so much harder to kill, and if it doesn't work out, it's a 4 resource, 4/3 shielded. So I think this card is about 100 times better than Tam. But yeah, Iden, very appealing. Again, I'm not sure what decks that would be in, maybe something like Akira, but who knows. But then there is Banshee. I'm pretty sure this is the vehicle or whatever fighter that Asajj rides. It's a 5 resource, 4/5 space unit that on attack deals damage to a... Well, you may deal damage to a unit equal to the amount of damage on this unit. Which, in a deck like Asajj, where you're dealing damage to your own units and maybe getting value off of them with grit stuff, then yeah, I can see this card being good. Beyond that, I don't really see it being that good. I mean, maybe this is like a 1 or a 2 of an Asajj. I haven't played Asajj or seen Asajj, so I wouldn't really know what ratios you would want. But yeah. Then there is Corvus, a 5 resource, 4/5, restore 2 when played. You may attach a friendly pilot unit or upgrade to this unit. So you can switch some stuff around if something isn't really good on a unit anymore, or the unit that you have a pilot upgrade on is about to die, then you can move it to this guy, and then boom, it's like a really big 4/5 restore 2, then maybe it's like a 6/7 restore 2 for 5 in a sense. So yeah, I can see that being pretty good. It's a solid enough rare. Then there's Chimera, a 6 resource 5/6 that when played, you may use a 1 defeated ability on another unit. So if there was another Chimera out, I know that this doesn't work because this guy is unique. But for example's sake, let's say there is. So you would play this, and then you get to use the 1 defeated of the other Chimera you have to then create 2 TIE Fighter tokens without having to actually defeat that Chimera. So that's pretty cool. And then, again, when Chimera is defeated, you get to create 2 TIE Fighter tokens. So that could be pretty fun. But then there is Fleet Interdictor, a 7 resource 6/6 Sentinel that, when defeated, says you may defeat a space unit that costs 3 or less. Pretty solid, not gonna lie. I mean, it is pretty hard to get down, but with something like a Cunning, I mean, maybe it can cost a little bit less to put down. It is a capital ship, so this card's awful in P-Hit, by the way. I'm just saying. But, yeah. Fleet Interdictor, it's a solid common. It could maybe do some... It's not going to do work in Constructed at all. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but it's cool, I guess. But then there's Annihilator, which is way cooler and a good, powerful one-of in a blue P-Hit deck, not gonna lie. It's an 11 resource 12/12, which is a gigantic unit. It says when played or defeated, you may defeat an enemy unit. Pretty good. And then if you do, you search its controller's deck and hand for each card with that unit's name and discard them. So you get to look at the opponent's deck, get rid of every single copy of the thing that you just killed, or if you need the get rid of an Anakin they were facing off against, that there's a ton of Sentinel going on and you can't get through their Sentinel board, and then you play this, and then you defeat Anakin, and then the Anakin deck's just crying until they play a Crate Dragon. But, yeah. You know, just because I said that, when I play P-Hit, I'm going to face a Anakin deck, which, by the way, I am building. So maybe I play against my own Anakin deck, and I defeat Anakin. And then I play, or my opponent plays a Crate Dragon on me. So that would be wonderful. I can totally see that happening now that I willed that into existence. But then there's Power from Pain, which is a horrible name. That is so messed up in a lot of ways, but it's a 3-resource event that gives a +1 power buff to a unit for the phase for each damage on it. So it's kind of like giving a thing double grit for the phase if it already has grit on it. Otherwise, it just gives it grit for the phase in a sense, which is pretty good. I don't know if it's good enough for it to cost 3 resources, but who knows? Maybe it doesn't work. But then there is No Glory, Only Results. A 5-resource event that says take control of a non-leader unit and defeat it. Solid enough event and removal piece. Then there's Echo Base Engineer, a 2-resource 2/3 ground unit, and the first unit in blue and white in Vigilance Heroism. So that's cool, but it's not a very good unit, unfortunately. But when you play it, you can give a shield token to a damaged vehicle unit. Good and limited. Outside of limited. Nope. Nope. And then there's Hera Syndulla, a 2-resource 2/3 restore 1 body in ground, or it can be a 2/3 pilot for 2, and it gives the attached unit restore 1. Again, good and limited. Outside, nope, probably not. But then there's Paige Tico, a 2-resource 3/2 in ground, which is fine, I guess. Or it's a 2-resource 2/2 pilot that gives the attached unit an on-attack to give an experience token to this unit and then deal 1 damage to it. Good in rows, which is good in limited. But again, outside of limited, no, it's not. It's not good, unfortunately. Then there's Admiral Yularen, a 3-resource 1/5 that when played, you can choose Grit, Restore 1, Sentinel, or Shielded, and while this unit is in play, you give each friendly vehicle unit that chosen keyword. I said that this was good and limited, but it's not in constructed enough, so I'm just going to move on. But then there's Cassian Andor, 3-resource 3/4, solid enough, and then when you can pilot it for 2, it's a 1/3 upgrade that gives the attached unit an on-attack to discard a card from the defending player's deck, and if that card costs 3 or less, you get to draw a card. I don't know where this card would see play, but if it can, it could be a decent value engine. I don't, again, know where that would be, but yeah. Then there's L337. It's a 3-resource 3/3 that says if this unit would be defeated, you may instead attach her as an upgrade to a friendly vehicle unit without a pilot on it. And you can pilot it for 3, and it's a 3/3 upgrade. So It's kind of like there's a unit that I'll get to eventually in this video called Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker, you put as an upgrade onto a thing, and then when it's defeated, you get to flip it to the ground arena and exhaust it. L337 is kind of like that, but flipped, which is cool, I guess. But yeah. Then there's Phantom 2, a 3-resource 3/3 with grit. Meh. In space, and then as an action for 1, you can say, if this card is a unit, attach it as an upgrade to the Ghost, and it's no longer a unit. You deal, or you defeat all upgrades on it and remove all damage from it, and then the attached unit gets +3/+3 and grit. It's kind of like a weird version of Pilot. I mean, thematically it's cool. Outside of that, and unfortunately, this is a rare, so if you pull that as a rare, I am sorry for you. But then there's Red Squadron X-Wing, a 3-resource 3/4 that when played, you can deal 2 damage to it, and then you get to draw a card. I mean, it's one of the better cards in Limited, in my opinion, in this aspect combination, but yeah. There's Dakar Cargo Frigate up next, a 5-resource 6/7 that gets -1 power for each damage on it. It's kind of like reverse grit. So you get a really good body for what it costs, but then it gets worse over time. So cool, I guess. Then there's the Ghost, a 5-resource 5/6 that says each other friendly Spectre unit gains this unit's keywords, and while this unit is upgraded, it gets Sentinel. It is a legendary. Again, if you pull this as your legendary, I am sorry for you. And now that I said that, I am probably going to pull as many copies of this as I did the original Mace Windu in the first set, so that's... Why'd I have to open my big fat mouth? Anyways, Gold Leader's up next, a 6-resource 5/5 shielded. Way better already than this last piece of garbage, in my opinion. But then it says, while this unit is defending, the attacker gets -1 power. So an uncommon is better than a legendary. Fantasy Flight Games, please make your legendaries better. And make the ones that aren't absolute garbage a little bit worse, please. But then there's You're All Clear Kit, a 2-resource event that says defeat an enemy space unit with 3 or less remaining HP. And then if you do, an opponent controls no space units. If they control no space units, you may give an experience token to a unit. And then there's Hondo Naka, another legendary. And it's a 4-resource legendary with double blue. This is we're getting to now Vigilance only cards, and this is double Vigilance. It's a 3/5 shielded, and then on attack, you can take control of a non-pilot upgrade on a unit and attach it to a different eligible unit. So, yeah, that's kind of, you get to take one of your opponent's upgrades and then flip it on and put it onto one of yours. So this is solid. It is double Vigilance, which makes it a lot worse, but, you know, if this was just Vigilance, it would probably be a little bit, I don't know if it would be too good. I mean, see, Fantasy Flight Games, what I was just saying a little bit ago, I feel like lately you've been making your legendaries a little bit betterly balanced, but it's just like, some of your legendaries are just so bad. It's just so bad. But yeah. Then there's Astro Mech Pilot, a 1-resource 1/3 with Pilot for 2. It's a 1/3 upgrade, and when you play it as an upgrade, you can deal 2 damage from a unit. Gotta move on from that. Then there's Academy Graduate, a 2-resource 1/2 Sentinel. Okay, that's fine. But then there's the Piloting for 2, and it's a 1/2 upgrade that gives the attached unit Sentinel. Which... yeah. Then there's Corporate. Yeah, Corporate Defense Shell, a 2-resource 3/5 that says this unit can't attack. I can see it being good in Kaz, but I don't know if Kaz is going to really want to play blue. I think Kaz more so is going to be better in double yellow, so you can get value out of cards like Cunning for the most efficiently possible. But maybe there's a blue Kaz deck where this card's good. Then it's a 2-resource 3/5 space unit, which is pretty solid. Pretty solid. But then there's Desperate Commando, a 2-resource ground unit, 2/2, and when defeated, you can give a unit -1/-1 for the phase. I mean, it's fine, but it's not as good as this. It's a 2-resource 2/2 with grit, which in space, which is fine enough. I don't know. It's just, man, as I look at this, yeah, I do like this set a lot, but I am in so much draft chaff right now, which is really unfortunate. Though to be fair, Vigilance is just very easily the worst aspect in this entire game. So there is that. But then there's Silver Angel, a 2-resource space unit, 2/3, that whenever 1 or more damage is healed from this unit, you get to deal 1 damage to a space unit. Meh. Again, Rose. And then there's a 3-resource space unit, 2/4, 1 defeated, you get to draw a card. And you know what? Let's speed through this. It's then I got Omicron Strikecraft, a 3-resource space unit, 2/3 Sentinel. Fine. Then there's Outer Rim Outlaws, a 3-resource 3/3 ground unit with shielded. And that's decent enough. Pretty good in Gar Saxon, actually, honestly. It's a 3-resource 4/3 shielded in Gar Saxon. It's actually a lot better than, actually, yeah, that's really good. Huh. Something I gotta talk about later. Or in a future deck. But then there's Trace Martez, a 3-resource 2/5 with piloting for 1, 1/2 buff. And on attack, you can heal 2 damage from any number of units. 2 total damage from any number of units. I wish it was 2 damage from any number of units, because then that would make this card playable, but moving on. Then I got Cloaked Star Viper, a 4-resource 3/2 that when played, you give 2 shield tokens to this unit. It's kind of like a, honestly, way better 7-fleet defender, but it costs 1 more resource, which does make it a lot worse in a lot of ways. But in Gar Saxon, this thing's kind of unkillable, and it's a 4-resource 4/2 in Gar Saxon, which is actually really good. You know, I'm like, where are the cards that I wanted to talk about for Gar Saxon? I'm like, here they are. But then there is Perimeter ATRT, a 4-resource 3/5 Sentinel. Then there's a 5-resource 4/7 space unit, Munificent Frig, whatever. Ewing Lander, a 5-resource 2/2 that when played, you give 3 experience tokens to this unit. And then when this unit completes an attack and survives, you may attach an eligible upgrade on this unit to another eligible friendly vehicle unit. So CR90 Relief Runner. 6-resource 4/6 restore 2 when defeated, heal up to 3 damage from a unit or base. Man, these cards are really sad. Wing Guard Security Team, a 6-resource 4/4 Sentinel that when played, you can give a shield token to each of up to 2 fringe units. I don't know, like, where fringe is gonna be played a lot, but then there's Grim Valor, a 1-resource 1/1 upgrade that says the attached unit gains this 1 defeated ability that you may exhaust a unit. Which, cool, I guess. Then there's Close the Shield Gate, a 1-resource event that says choose a base. The next time that damage would be dealt to it this phase, you prevent that damage. Yeah, not great. Then there's Repair. I'm not talking about a card that's already been reprinted about 60 times. That's something else I'm really pissed about. Fantasy Flight Games, please stop reprinting stuff with the game being 2 years old. Or not even a year old. But then there's Covering the Wing, a 2-resource event that says create an X-Wing token. You may give a shield token to another unit. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I don't know. This card is definitely decent enough, but I mean, it's a lot better in Limited than Constructed. But then there's In the Heat of Battle. This guy is a 2-resource event that says each unit gets Sentinel and loses Saboteur for the phase. So, just massive dogfight, basically, is what that says. And then Direct Hit, 4-resource event that says defeat a non-leader vehicle unit, a card that's actually good and will actually see a lot of play. And I am looking forward to this card because basically it's another blue card that's going to be a one-of in control decks that I play. So, basically, yeah. Out the Airlock, a 5-resource event that says give a unit -5/-5 for the phase. Definitely better in Limited than it is in Constructed, but it's still decent enough, I guess. Well, I don't know, honestly, actually, about that. But then there's Nebula Ignition. It's a 9-resource event that says defeat each unit that isn't upgraded, which, for a legendary, honestly, it kind of sucks because this is the set that makes upgrades a really big thing, and this card basically says, yeah, you gotta hope that you're not playing a deck that cares about upgrades, which is pretty much no deck in this game anymore with this set. But yeah. Now we're getting past the boring shit. Now we got green, Command. We got Command and Villainy. It's a 1-resource, 2/1 first order TIE fighter that says while you control a token unit, this unit gets raid 1. I like this guy, I guess. Not really. But then there's Kajimi Patrollers, a guy that I do like. It's a 2-resource space unit, 1/1. When played, you make a 1/1 TIE fighter token. That I do like a lot, especially in my good old friend Darth Vader. I love that guy in Darth Vader, actually. But then there's Patoran Starship Thief, a 2-resource, 2/2 ground unit that says when played, you may spend 3 resources, and if you do, you attach this unit as an upgrade to a fighter or transport unit without a pilot on it. You get to take control of that unit. So that's pretty cool. And the upgrade side of this is a 0/0 upgrade that says when the upgrade detaches from a unit, that unit's owner takes control of it. So you kind of are getting a traitorous-like effect, but it can be on any unit, but only if it's a fighter or transport, which basically is only space units. And they can't have pilots on it, which does make this guy a little bit worse, but still. Wingman Victor 2 is up next, a 2-resource 3/2 that gives a, for 1-resource piloting, 1/1 upgrade, and 1 played as an upgrade, you make a TIE Fighter token. Which is really solid, honestly, for 1 resource. I mean, you get a 1/1 and then an additional 1/1, in a sense. You get a 1/1 buff and then a 1/1 token, so that's pretty cool. But then there is Victor Leader. This guy is what makes Vader fun and cool, in my opinion, because it's a 3-resource 2/4 that says each other friendly space unit gets +1/+1. Not a great body, but if you got enough tokens in a deck like Vader, it's a great card with not a much defense and power by itself, but with everything else you got going on, with all the other Go-Wad BS, it's a lot better and a lot cooler. But then there's Wingman Victor 3, a 3-resource 4/3 with piloting for 1. It's 1/1 upgrade that says when played as an upgrade, you may give an experience token to another unit. Also very solid in a deck like Vader. But then there's TIE Ambush Squadron, a 4-resource 2/3 ambush that when played or defeated, you get to create a TIE Fighter token. So it's kind of like a 4-resource 3/4 ambush in space. But it's not a big body, so it's a lot worse. I wish it just said when defeated and it was a 3/4. That would make this card way better, but unfortunately that is not the case. Then there's Captain Phasma, a 5-resource 5/6 that when played or on attack, you can give another first order unit +2/+2 for the phase. It's fine in Phasma, but outside of Phasma it is not very good. But then there's the Invisible Hand, which is way better in a deck like Dooku or pretty much any Separatist deck. It's a 6/6 space unit for 6 that when played, and when this unit completes an attack and survives, you get to search the top 8 cards of your deck for a droid unit, reveal it, and draw it. If it costs 2 or less, you get to play it for 3. For free. I don't know why I said for 3. I might have said for free, but it sounded like 3 to me, which, anyways. Executor's up next, an 11-resource space unit, 12/12 Overwhelm that when played and on attack and when defeated, you get to create 3 TIE Fighter tokens. I like this guy. I really, really do. I don't think this guy's going to see play at all in Darth Vader, but it will see play in Piet, and I cannot wait to play this as a one-of in Piet and play it about once every 60 games, but when I do, I feel like a god. Anyways, then I got Apology Accepted, which I think a lot of you are not going to accept the apology for my last little rant, but it's a 1-resource event that says defeat a friendly unit, and you get to give 2 experience tokens to a unit. In Limited, this is actually probably pretty solid Invader. Outside of Limited, I think it's probably garbage, but in Limited, it's cool, and I gotta look out for that now, because I'm gonna be doing pre-release tonight. I'm recording this on Friday, but, yeah, Friday morning, and it is 8:42, and I'm tired already. And it's Scramble Fighters up next, another legendary. It's a 7-resource event that says, create 8 TIE Fighter tokens and ready them, and they cannot attack bases for the phase. If that last line was not there, this card would be really good Invader, but it's not because of that last line. And it makes me sad. I would play this as a one-of Invader because Victor Leader is a card that exists. But because it says it cannot attack base, it might still be a card that I play as a one-of Invader, but it's still not good. And I'm really sad it's not. I really am. But then there's Nia Nub. It's a 1-resource 1/2 that says this unit gets +1 power for each other friendly pilot, unit, and upgrade. This is a green-white command heroism card. And it can pilot for 1, and it's the same thing as it is a ground unit. Basically, you just switch it over to space. But yeah, it's solid, really solid in Wedge. Outside of Wedge, I mean, there are probably other decks that this card will be played in, but it's really good in Wedge. And then there's Luke Skywalker, the guy that I talked about forever ago, that I really wish that I was there the second that I started talking about yeah. Anyways, it's a 2-resource 3/2 ground unit, or it's a 3-resource 3/2 upgrade pilot that says if the upgrade would be defeated, this upgrade would be defeated, you may instead move him to the ground arena as a unit and exhaust him. Pretty cool, honestly. Kind of. Yeah, it is cool, honestly. It is a pretty cool upgrade. And I think this card will see play probably in a lot of decks. Well, maybe not a lot of decks, but it will see play in decks, nonetheless. But then there's Phoenix Squadron A-Wing, a card that I really like, especially in Limited. This card is really good in Limited. Well, it's a 2-resource 3/2 space unit in green and white. And it's kind of like a semi-worse, semi-better Green Squadron A-Wing, because it's actually got 3 power instead of being a 1/3 with Raid 2. But this has 2 health, which does make it a little bit worse. So I feel like probably running a mix of both is the best. I might favor this card over the other, but who knows? I'd probably need to test that. But then there's Blue Leader, a 3-resource 3/3 ambush. In space, that's pretty solid. Don't see that very often. And when played, you can spend 2 resources, move it to the ground arena, and give it 2 experience tokens. So it can be a 3-resource 3/3 ambush in space, or a 5-resource 5/5 ambush in ground. The flexibility on this card and power that this card has is broken. And it's an uncommon. Fantasy Flight Games, again, make some of your legendaries a little bit better than uncommons. Please, for the love of everything. Then there's Leia Organa, a 3-resource 3/4 that has Restore 1. Fine, I guess. And then when played, well, it is a solid body, honestly. But then when played, you may attack with a pilot unit or a unit with a pilot on it. And it gets +1 power and Restore 1 for the attack, which is pretty solid in a deck like Wedge. I don't think it's going to really be played in the best Wedge decks, but in more budget Wedge decks, I could definitely see this card being played as maybe like a 1 or 2 of, kind of like a Fleet Lieutenant in a sense, but for pilot decks instead of Rebel decks, if that makes sense. But then there is Snap Wexley, a 3-resource 2/5 that when played as a unit or on attack, you get to say the next resistance card you play this phase costs 1 less. And then you can pilot it for 2 resources, 2/2 upgrade. And then when played as an upgrade, you get to search the top 5 cards of your deck for a resistance card, reveal it, and draw it. I feel like those kinds of effects are way better in One Piece than they are in Star Wars, and I firmly believe that to this day. So let's just move on from this pretty shitty rare. And then there is Veteran Fleet Officer, a 3-resource 2/1 that when played, creates an X-Wing token. So it's kind of like a 3-resource 4/3, but it's kind of spread out a little bit on the ground, a little bit in space, leaning a little bit more towards space. In Limited, this card's actually probably going to be pretty solid. Outside of that, nope. Nope. Then there's Poe. One hell of a pilot indeed, a 4-resource 3/3 ground unit which is awful stats. But when played as a unit, you can create an X-Wing token. And you may attach this unit as an upgrade to a friendly vehicle unit without a pilot on it, which you just so happened to make one a second ago, and all of a sudden you are giving that thing a 2-3 buff because this thing can pilot for 2, and as an upgrade, it gives that thing that you piloted onto a 2-3 buff. So it can be a 4-resource 4-5 in space, or it can be a 2-resource 2-3 piloting upgrade, or it can be a 4-resource 3-3 grounding it. I'll let you decide which one is the worst of those, but I think it's kind of obvious. But then there's Red Leader, a 4-resource space unit that's a 3-4, which is pretty bad until you see that this unit costs 1 less to play for each friendly pilot unit and upgrade, which is way better, especially in a deck like Wedge. I think this card is going to be cracked in Wedge. But when a pilot unit attaches to this unit, you get to create an X-Wing token. So you get to play this probably for cheaper. And then, when you put a pilot on this guy, then you get to make another thing without a pilot on it that you can then put a pilot on, and then you just get to go wider and beat face more easily, which is really cool. Then, I got Resistance Blue Squadron, a 4-resource 3-4 common that says when played, you get to deal damage to a unit equal to the number of friendly space units. That is pretty good, not gonna lie. I mean, in Limited, yes. It's kind of like an Admiral Akbar for Limited. But outside of Limited, I probably won't see this card at all. You probably won't see this card at all. It is a Resistance card, so if you're playing Hondo, or Hala, I don't know. Admiral Holdo, maybe? I think that's her name. But maybe in that deck, you might see this a little bit. Outside of that, no, not at all. And then there's Chewbacca, a card that I talked about forever ago, and this guy I like a lot. It is a 5-resource 5-6 that says this unit can't be defeated or returned to hand by enemy card abilities. Really solid body. Really, really solid body. And with that stat line, it makes it a lot better. Because normally, like a 5-resource 6-6, that is on rate. But with that stat line, or with that effect, really good body. Or it could be a 3-resource piloting upgrade that gives a +3/+3 buff. And that ability, this unit can't be defeated or returned to hand by enemy card abilities. This card might just be the best super rare that we have ever seen. This guy is cracked. Cracked, I tell you, in any deck that cares about space. Wedge especially, because you get to play this guy for 2 resources in Wedge. That's not okay at all. And I mean at all. But yeah, anyways. Then I got Raidus, a 7-resource 8/6 that says while you control another resistance card, unit, upgrade, or leader, this unit gains Sentinel. And when defeated, you get to deal damage equal to this unit's power to an enemy unit. So yeah, let's move on from this guy. That was awful. The Starhawk. Look at that art. It's a 9-resource 6/9. Nice. And while, god damn it, and it has ambush. And while paying costs, you may pay half as many resources, rounded up. Man, I don't know where this card's going to be played, but man, it is going to see play somewhere. It is going to see play somewhere. Having the ability to make your stuff cost less resources, as I've said many times already in this video and many videos prior, no matter what trading card game you play, it is good. And making all your stuff cost half as many resources is really good. So yeah, legendary. That might actually see play as a 1-of somewhere. Like 99% of legendaries, unless they cost little. And then they see plays as 3-ofs pretty much everywhere. Anyways, then there is Unity of Purpose. Another legendary. This time it's just command. Getting into the just command only cards. This is double command. So, and it costs 6 resources, so it's, it says, for each friendly unit with a different name, you give each unit you control +1/+1 for the phase. This card, I have never read before. that effect, in theory, is really powerful. It is a very good way to end the game. However, double command decks are very, very uncommon. I don't think I've ever seen a double command deck in my life, or in the history of playing this game, because it's only been around for a year, but I don't see this card being played anywhere unless it's going to cost 8 resources, which this could be a still really powerful finisher, but I don't think it's probably going to see play pretty much anywhere except as a one-of in decks that can't play this for 6 resources. So there you go. Then there is Bounty or Bunker Defender. I don't know why I read Bounty there, but it's a 1 resource 2/1 that says while you control a vehicle unit, this unit gains Sentinel. See, something that I mentioned in my draft guide video is that ground units are pretty uncommon in the set. And if you can stick a really good one down, it's really easy for you to just lose that game. And this guy in Limited, I don't know how I missed this guy. This guy in Limited is really good. Outside of Limited, however, kind of garbo. Not gonna lie. But anyways, then there's Clone Pilot. 2 resource 2/2, ground unit, fine. Or you can pilot it for 2, and it's a 2/2 buff, upgrade. Solid. Enough, I guess. Kind of, sort of, whatever. Anyways, then there's Jarek Yeager. I think this guy is from the Resistance show. I think it's 2 resource 2/3. It's a pilot for 2, 2/2 buff. While you control a ground unit and a space unit, the attached unit gains Sentinel. Anyway, Scouting Headhunter, 2 resource 2/1 Sentinel. I think I'm going to start to fire off quickly again because, yeah. Anyways, Seasoned Fleet Admiral, 2 resource 1/4, raid 1. When when an opponent draws 1 or more cards during this action phase, you can give a experience token to a unit. I mean, it could see play in certain decks against certain matchups, but beyond that, no, not at all. Then there is Eager Escort Fighter at 3 resource 4/1 ambush. Solid and limited, not anywhere else. Homestead Militia reprint. I'm not talking about it. I don't care. God, I'm so tired of Fantasy Flight Games reprinting cards from old sets in literally every single set. It makes no sense. It's been 1 year, not even. Be more creative there, please. Anyways, Adept Arc 170. It's a 4 resource 3/4 restore 2. Decent, I guess. Then there's Clone Combat Squadron, 4 resource 3/3. It gets +1/+1 for each other space unit, other friendly space unit. Good and limited, not anywhere else. Kind of like the last card. Dornian Gunship. It's a 5 resource 4/6. When played, to deal indirect damage to a player equal to the number of vehicle units you control. Good and limited, not anywhere else. Then there is General Draven. It's a 5 resource 2/5. When played or on attack, you get to create an X-Wing token. I don't really know what... I still, to this day, don't really know what to think of this card. It could be good. It could not really be good. I mean, depending on the deck that you put it in, it could do some work, but 99% of the time, I just don't really see it doing much. So, yeah. Then there is MC-30 Assault Frigate, 5 resource 5/5, overwhelm raid 1. A limited card. Resupply Carrier, one of the best commons in this set. It is a 6 resource 4/5. Played, you may put the top card of your deck into play as a resource. It's like a resupply, but on a big space unit body. Now, granted, it is not a good static body for how much it costs, but in a deck like Admiral Piet, could be really good. So, yeah, can't wait to play this guy in Piet, and I hope I get a lot of this guy. Anyways, then there's Dorsal Turret, a 1 resource 0/0 upgrade that says the attached unit, whenever it deals combat damage to a unit while attacking, you get to defeat that unit. You give a thing Death Touch, basically. Salvage, 0 resource event. Play a vehicle unit from your discard pile, and then you get to deal 1 damage to it. You have to pay its costs, but yeah. All lanes report in 1 resource event. Exhaust up to 2 friendly space units. For each unit exhausted this way, you get to create an X-Wing token. Fine, I guess. Dogfight. I talked about that dogfights earlier, and I don't really think this card's as much of a dogfight as the last card that I talked about, but that involved dogfighting. But anyways, 1 resource event, attack with a unit. Even if it's exhausted, that unit can't attack bases for this attack. It was good up until that very last line. So let's move on. Tandem Assault. It's a 1 resource event. Attack with a space unit. If you do, attack with a ground unit, and that ground unit gets +2 power for the attack. Limited card. Air Superiority. 2 resource event. If you control more space units than an opponent, deal 4 damage to a ground unit that opponent controls. Really good. Really good limited card. Eject. 2 resource event. Detach a pilot, upgrade, move it to the ground arena as a unit, and exhaust it, draw a card. This card's not going to see play. It is fine, I guess. It is cool, but it is not going to see play anywhere. Anyways, then there is Lightspeed Assault, 2 resource event. Deal damage, or defeat a friendly space unit and deal damage equal to its power to an enemy space unit. If you do, deal indirect damage equal to the enemy unit's power to its controller's base. Or to equal to, what? To the unit's power to its controller. I don't know why that was hard for me to read. Prepare for takeoff. It's a reprint. Focus Fire. 4 resource event, choose a unit. Each friendly vehicle unit in the same arena deals damage equal to its power to that unit. Fine, I guess. Limited card. Timely Reinforcements, 5 resource upgrade. Choose a unit, or choose an opponent. For every 2 resources they control, create an X-Wing token and give it Sentinel for the phase. Really good and limited. Not anywhere else. Again, Turbo Laser Salvo. This is a good one of Legendary in It, and not anywhere else. It's a 7 resource event that says choose an arena. A friendly space unit deals damage equal to its power to each enemy unit in that arena. That is so good in It, but not anywhere else. I really wish it was, because that is such a cool card, but it's so bad in most decks. But then there's First Order Stormtrooper, a 1 resource 2/1 that on attack, when defeated, you get to deal 1 indirect damage to a player, and this marks aggression. Finally talking about aggression. I am losing my mind in this video. That's what this is. I'm not editing this at all for those of you who care. I'm just not. But then there is Allegiant, General Pride, 2 resource ground unit, 2/3, when you deal indirect damage, or when indirect damage is dealt to a unit, you may defeat a non-unique upgrade on it. That is pretty solid, honestly. And on attack, if you have the initiative, you deal 2 indirect damage to a player. This card is really good for the fact that it can kill piloting upgrades that are really, really powerful, or just upgrades in general that are really, really powerful. But beyond that, it's not the best. But then there's General Hux, 2 resource, 1/4 ground unit that says each other friendly First Order unit gains raid 1, and as an action, you can exhaust them. Say, if you've played a First Order card this phase, you get to draw a card. In a First Order deck, such as Phasma, great. Outside, no. Not at all. Not at all. Then there's Special Forces, TIE Fighter, 2 resource, 2/3, First Order, space unit. It says, when played, if an opponent controls more space units than you ready this unit. Meh. Very meh. Very, very meh. Meh. Prototype TIE Advanced, 3 resource, 4/3 space unit. Von Reg's TIE Interceptor. I'm trying to have fun with this, and man, I forgot how tiring these videos are to record. So for those of you powering through it with me, thank you so much. But it's a 3 resource space unit. It's a 3/4, and says, while this unit has 4 or more power, it gains overwhelm. Very good in Von Reg, because it's very easy for this to get an additional power buff. And while it has 6 or more power, if you put this, if you put the Von Reg upgrade side of Von Reg onto this guy, very easy to get it up to 6. Then it gains raid 1. So Von Reg's TIE Interceptor, very good in Von Reg, and it is good in decks outside of that. I know that for a fact, but it's especially good in Von Reg, in general Von Reg. But yeah, then there's Decimator of Dissidence, 4 resource 3/5. If indirect damage has been dealt this phase, then it costs 1 less, and it has Overwhelm, so it could be a 3 resource 3/5 in space. Outside of that, it's bad. It just is bad. And it's just a bad card in general, honestly, unfortunately. Then there's Dengar, a 4 resource 5/4, or a piloting upgrade for 2 that gives a 1/2 buff, and an on attack that deals 2 indirect damage to a player, and if the unit is an underworld unit, then you get to deal 3 indirect damage instead, which is way better than 2. But I mean, this card is going to see play. I do think that this is a very solid card, but I don't think that it's going to see play in a lot of decks, unfortunately, even though it's really cool. But it's really good in Limited. It is really, really good in Limited. Including IG-2000, also very good in Limited, and going to see play in a lot of decks. So 4 resource 3/4 Overwhelm Space Unit, which seems bad, until you read that when played, you get to deal 1 damage to each of up to 3 units. Way better, because it's like indirect damage, but you get to choose where it goes. Except it can't go to the base. But that is not what matters in most indirect damage decks. You just want to make sure that the opponent has no units, and then you eventually kill them with indirect damage, because they have no units on the board. But then there is IG-88, a 5 resource 4/5, that while an enemy unit is damaged, this unit gains +3 power. Yeah, that's okay. That can be pretty good. I mean, a 5 resource 7/5, that's not a bad rate. And you can pilot for 2, and it's a 0/3 upgrade. That, while an enemy unit is damaged, gives the 2 cost thing that you piloted onto a +3 power buff. So it could be a 2 resource piloting upgrade that gives a 3/3 buff, or it can be a 5 resource 4/5 that's maybe a 7/5. It's a fine rare. Not a great one, unfortunately. But then there's Darth Vader, a new legendary Darth Vader, might I add. And it's a 6 resource 7/7 this time around, with no abilities, which is bad, but it pilots for 3. It gives a 3/3 buff, and this pretty cool on attack. It says you may deal 1 damage to a unit. If a unit is defeated this way, you get to deal 1 damage to a unit or base. Wow, I thought that was going to be a lot better than it was. That's kind of sad. I miss the original Darth Vader. It was cooler. A Devastator. It's an 8 resource 9/6 that says it was almost nice if you flipped it. But anyways, you may assign all indirect damage you deal to opponents. That is way better than you think it is. That is way better than you think it is. If you know how indirect damage decks work, then you will realize how good that is. If you don't, then we'll get to the reason why that's really good in a second. But anyways, when played, you get to deal 4 indirect damage to each opponent. That is really good. So you get to choose where that 4 damage goes, first off, which is really solid. And it's a 9 powered body, which is really good too. So, I mean, it could be 13 damage over the course of 2 turns just with this card alone. So, yeah, that's pretty good. And it can be a little bit more. But, yeah. Anyways, No Disintegrations is up next, a 3 resource event. It is a super rare. And it says deal deal damage to a non-leader unit equal to 1 less than its remaining HP. So, almost kills it. Almost. But it pretty much will, because, I mean, indirect damage decks are where you're going to be playing something like this. In Constructed, I don't really see a deck playing anything like this, but, yeah, maybe. Then there is BB-8, a 1 resource 1/4, or can pilot for 1/2 buff. When plays an upgrade, you may pay 2, and if you do, you ready a resistance unit. Very meh. Again, very, very meh. And then there's Masai Tactical Officer, a 1 resource 0/4. Already very meh. But then as an action, you can exhaust and attack with the fighter units, and that unit gets +2 power for the attack. Limited is the only place you would see this. If you see it anywhere else, you see this in Constructed, please tell your opponent. Make sure they know. they have a problem. Anyways, then there's Black 1. It's a 2-resource 2/3 that says while this unit is upgraded, it gets +1 power. And on attack, if you control Poe Dameron as a unit, upgrade, or a leader, you may deal damage, or you may deal 1 damage to a unit. This card is really solid. Again, index at pilot, such as Wedge Antilles, such as Luke Skywalker, such as Poe Dameron himself. Yeah, but outside of that, who knows? Then there's Frisk, a 2-resource 3/2 that pilots for 2, 2/2 buff, and when play is an upgrade, you may defeat an upgrade that costs 2 or less. In limited, I think this card will actually be really solid. Outside of that, no. No, just no. Then there's Red Squadron Y-Wing, a 2-resource 1/3 space unit that's good everywhere. Everywhere. And it says on attack, you deal 3 indirect damage to the defending player. It is probably the best 2-cost space unit that I have seen in this set so far. No, that doesn't cost 2 resources. That costs 3 resources. So yeah, this is probably the best 2-cost space unit in this entire set. I would be willing to bet. In this set, I was willing to bet. I am willing to bet. That rhymed. I don't do that very often. That's cool. Anyways, Biggs Darklighter. If you can tell, if you couldn't tell, I'm going insane. I'm going insane. But it's a 3-resource 3/4 that pilots for 1, and it's a 2/1 buff, and it says if the attached unit is a fighter, it gets overwhelmed. If the attached unit is a transport, it gets +1 health. If the attached unit is a speeder, it gets grit. I don't really know where this deck will... No, I do know where this card will see play. I'm joking. It sees play in literally every piloting deck. In every deck that cares about space units, you will see this guy. He's just a 3-resource 3/4 ground unit, which is solid, or it can be a 1-cost upgrade that can do some good work. And in Wedge, this is a 0-cost card, basically, because of his own ability, which is pretty good. pretty good. But then there's Red 5. I really don't want to say that this is better than the original Red 5 because I spent so much money on the original Red 5s, and this is an uncommon that I will spend no money on. But it's a 3-resource 3/4 space unit that on attack deals 2 damage to a damaged unit. You might be thinking to yourself, how is this better than the original Red 5? Well, the original Red 5 costs the same number of resources for a 2/3 raid 1. Which is absurdly easy to kill in this set, which is really unfortunate. And sure, it gives every other friendly white unit raid 1, but this just... I think this card probably is better than the original Red 5 most of the time, unless you're playing a go-wide deck and Red 5 just sticks, the original Red 5. Beyond that, this card's just better, and it's an uncommon, and it makes me cry on the inside. A lot. But then there is Tactical Heavy Bomber, a 5-resource 3/5 that on attack deals indirect damage equal to this unit's power to the defending player. And if a base is dealt damage this way, you get to draw a card. I mean, who doesn't like drawing cards? But, I mean, this card, even though it says draw a card, it is not good. It just is, unfortunately, not good. And it's a rare, which makes drawing that feel worse. Then there's Rebellious Hammerhead, a 6-resource 5/7 that when played, you may deal damage to a unit equal to the number of cards in your hand. Anyways, then there is Profundity, a 9-resource 8/9 legendary overwhelm. When played, when defeated, you choose a player. They may discard a card from their hand, and then if they have more cards in their hand than you, they discard a card from their hand. It's another legendary that's going to be a one-of in certain decks. I love making that joke if you couldn't tell. But then there's They Hate That Ship. This card is it is really good. It's a 1-resource event that says an opponent creates 2 TIE Fighter tokens and readies them. And then you may play a vehicle unit from your hand, and it costs 3 less. So it's like a sneak attack, but better. Because on turn 1... Sure, you give the opponent 2 ready TIE Fighters, but unless you're playing against Vader, that's probably not going to get too much value for them. But at the cost of doing that, you basically get to play a 4-resource space unit on turn 1. That is really good. That is really, really good. But then there's Trench Run, which is also really good. The rares in red and white, I don't get why they're good, and so many of the other rares in other aspects are just bad. But it's just, I don't know. The rare quality in Star Wars just seems to be bad. I don't know why. But red and white seems to escape that, and I'm sad about that, because red and white is not my favorite aspect combination, but whatever. Trench Run. Anyways, it says attack with a fighter unit. For this attack, it gets +4 power, and on attack, you get to discard 2 cards from the defending player's deck, and you get to deal unpreventable damage equal to the difference in the discarded cards' costs to this unit. So you get to attack for 4 more power than you normally would. So it's a way better surprise strike because it costs 1 less resources, and it gives an additional buff. But it might get, the thing that you're attacking with might get hurt. In addition, it can only be a fighter, which does suck. But I mean, still, this card is really good in Luke. Like, really good in Luke. But then there is Relentless Fire Spray, a 6-resource, double aggression, 4/6 on attack. Ready this unit. It gets, you can only use that ability once a round. So it's a 4/6 that you can attack with twice a turn. For 6, I mean, I really wish it had 1 more power if it was double red, but I don't think that would be too much of an ask, honestly, for it being double red. But okay. Then there is Crackshot V-Wing. It's a 1-resource 2/2 that when played, if you control no other fighter units, you deal 1 damage to this unit. A limited card. It is a limited card. Then there's Determined Recruit, a 2-resource 3/1. Or it can pilot for 2, and it's a 3/1 buff. So, Draft Chaff. Then there is Supporting ETA2. It's a 2-resource 2/2 that on attack you may give a ground unit +2 power for the phase. No. It's not good. Then there's Captain Tarkin. It's really weird to not say Admiral Tarkin, but here we are. But it is, for some reason, not loading. There we go. But it's a 2/5 that says each friendly vehicle unit gets +1 power and raid 1. And overwhelm. Sorry, not raid 1. I don't know why I read raid 1, but it's good in limited. And that's all I'm going to say. Then there's Droid Missile Platform 3-resource 4/2. When defeated, deal 3 indirect damage to a player. Draft Chaff. Well, okay, it is not Draft Chaff. It is going to likely see a little bit of play in decks that care about indirect damage. Beyond that, it'll probably only exist as a 2 of in no stacks. But beyond that, nothing else is going to be playing that card. Outside of limited, I might add. But then there's ATDP Occupier. It is a vehicle, so pilots can go on to this dude. And it's a 4-resource 3/4 that costs 1 less to play for each damaged ground unit. Which could matter. I mean, it could, I don't know. It could be a good ground unit in limited, because it does have overwhelm too, so that could be important. But outside of that, it's awful. Then there's Cham Syndulla. This is a 4-resource 5/4 that when played, if an opponent controls more resources than you may put the top card of your deck into play as a resource. I saw this card in a deck somewhere. I don't know where it was, and I'm like, why are they playing this? I mean, it could be good in niche cases, but outside of that, it just really isn't. So, I don't know. It's good in limited to a point. I mean, it's a decent ground unit, but beyond that, it just isn't good. It just really isn't good. Then there's Hunting Aggressor, a 4-resource 3/6 that says indirect damage you deal to opponents is increased by 1. I mean, it could be good. I have not seen it in indirect damage decks, which probably means it's not good. But I really want it to be good. In limited, great. Outside, probably realistically not. Unfortunately, I am really sad about that because it is actually a really solid body. for 4 resources in space. Really solid body. But then there is Orbiting K-Wing. It's a 4 resource space unit, 4/4 Saboteur. Draft Chaff. Then there's Occupier Siege Tank, and it's another freaking reprint I'm not talking about. Insurgent Saboteur is a 6 resource, 6/5 Saboteur on attack. You get to defeat an upgrade. That in limited, really good, because it's also a really solid body in ground. But outside of that, no awful garbage. Shadowcaster is up next, a legendary. It's a 6 resource one, 4/7, that says when a friendly unit is defeated, you may use all of its 1 defeated abilities again. So weirdly, this card is good in Thrawn, which, I mean, kind of makes sense because there are a lot of 1 defeated abilities in Aggression, but it makes me think, like, is Thrawn gonna be another blue deck that runs red? I mean, Anakin is one of the few niche cases where I actually am a really fan of blue and red being mixed together. And sure, they are my 2 favorite colors, but in Star Wars, it just doesn't make sense, okay? And it doesn't really make sense in One Piece either, but I do really want to build a blue and red deck. You know, Anakin is... Actually, I'm not gonna... I don't know what I'm saying. I'm losing my freaking mind. But Shadowcaster, it could be really good in Thrawn. It could be really good in Thrawn. War Juggernaut up next. 6 resource 3/7 that says it gets +1 power for each damaged unit. And when played, you get to deal 1 damage to each of any number of units. This is a vehicle. This card is absurdly powerful and limited. My throat hurts. And I wish I talked about it in my pre-release guide video. I don't know what just happened, but my nose died. But War Juggernaut, really good in limited. And it actually will see play outside of limited. I believe it will. In indirect damage decks, I do think that this card will see play. And be really good. As like a good one of. But then there is Targeting Computer, a 1 resource upgrade, gives a 1/1 buff, and the attached unit says you assign all indirect damage dealt by this unit. Wait, what? You assign all indirect damage dealt by this unit. And it's a 1 resource, 1/1 upgrade. I swear I've read this card, but I'm reading it again, and I'm like, yeah, this card just isn't good. I'm just going to move on. But anyways. Twin Laser Turret. It is a, if it'll load, it is an upgrade for 2. 2/2 buff. The attached non-vehicle unit gets a speed on attack to deal 1 indirect damage to each of up to 2 units in this arena. Or deal 1 damage. 1 indirect damage? I was like, what? But 1 damage. Good and limited. Fight Fire with Fire. 1 resource event. Choose a friendly unit and an enemy unit in the same arena. If you do, deal 3 damage to each of them. Draft Chaff. Hot Shot Maneuver. 1 resource event. Choose a friendly unit for each of its on-attack abilities. Deal 2 damage to a different enemy unit and then attack with the chosen unit. I just don't think this card's going to see play. It's another rare that just isn't going to see play. I wish did. Fantasy Flight Games, please. I want the rares to be just a little bit better. If they're not, just do what Flesh and Blood does and shove 2 into every single pack. Because then it makes drawing 1 rare that sucks feel a little less bad. Anyways, System Shock. I'm crying now. I'm not, but I feel like I am on the inside. Again, I'm losing my mind. This is what happens when I record these kind of videos, set review videos. But it's a 1 resource event that says defeat a non-leader upgrade attached to a unit. If you do, you deal 1 damage to that unit. Good and limited. I've talked about it. I wish I didn't talk about it and I instead talked about this. That is a mistake on my part. And if you haven't watched that video, go watch it and then yell at me in the comments saying, why did you not talk about War Juggernaut? That was so much better. And it honestly probably is. It's probably one of the better cards in Limited for red that I did not talk about. But Shoot Down. 2 resource event, deal 3 damage to a space unit. If that unit is defeated this way, you get to deal 2 damage to a base. Good and limited. Not anywhere else. Stay on target, 2 resource event. attack with a vehicle. For the attack, it gets +2 power, and when it deals damage to a base, you get to draw a card. I've said draft chaff enough. Face off. If no player is taking the initiative this phase, you may ready an enemy unit, and if you do, you ready a friendly unit in the same arena. This card, thematically, really cool. Beyond that, terrible, awful. I don't know why it's an uncommon. I really don't. I really, really don't. What the hell? Koyagran Turn. That's how you pronounce that word. It's a 3-resource event that says ready fighter or transport unit with 6 or less power. Basically, you get to ready any space unit you want in limited. Beyond that, who cares? Who really cares? Piercing Shot, 3-resource event. You defeat all shield tokens on a unit, deal 3 damage to that unit. Yeah, that card's good. That card's solid, honestly. Well, yeah. In limited. I should point that out. In limited. Because of that card that I pointed out earlier, that 4-resource 3/2, that basically is double shielded. Cards like this are great against cards like that. Beyond that, no. Because there's a lot of shielded in this set. But Planetary Bombardment, I was waiting for this card. I'm like, can this card please show up? I want to talk about something cool. But it's a 6-resource event that says deal 8 indirect damage to a player. If you do, or if you control a capital ship unit, you get to deal 12 indirect damage instead. So, Red Piet is very common because of this very cool combo with a card that I talked about earlier called Devastator. You know, the thing that gets to allow you to assign all indirect damage you deal to opponents. 9 damage on its own, 4 indirect damage when you play it, likely to the base if you have a certain, planetary bombardment, and then you get to deal 12 more to the opponent's base. So with those 2 cards in a deck like Piet, you can go 4 damage, into 9 damage, into 12 damage. That is 25 damage. That is game ending. And you can do that on turn 5. So that's not okay, by the way. But anyways. Rampart getting into Cunning. Finally. Oh, thank goodness. But anyways. It's a 2-resource space unit. 3/3. If this unit doesn't ready during the regroup phase unless its power is 4 or more. I remember in the first set when I was reading Cunning cards, and I'm like, I hate Cunning. This color is so stupid. Because I drew a lot of, there were many, many packs in a row where I drew all of the worst Cunning cards of that set. I'm like, Cunning is so awful. What is the point of these cards? And now I'm looking at those cards, and I'm like, man, I was so wrong. Now it's my favorite aspect in the game. Because I'm a typical person who just likes typical things that typical people like. But Rampart, it's a solid card. It's not great. I think in Rio it's good, but outside of Rio it's not great. But Zygerian Starhopper, I like this guy a lot. In Cad Bane. Cad Bane, probably gonna be my second favorite deck in the game because Piet came out, my new Count Dooku basically. But Zygerian Starhopper is going to be something that makes Cad Bane way better because I just really want a good 2-cost card in Cad Bane, and I finally got it in Zygerian Starhopper. It's a 2-resource, 2/3 space unit that when defeated deals 2 indirect damage to a player. In Cad Bane, 2 resources for 5 damage. That's so good. You get to deal 1 damage with Cad Bane. You get to attack with this thing for 2. When it goes away, if you just swing it right into something that deals 3 damage into it, you get to deal 2 damage to that thing, and then 2 indirect damage to the player. Sure, they get to choose, but Cad Bane, that's the best part. You get to pick your own poison. Do you want to take some damage, or do you want to kill some of your units? What do you want to do? I am so evil. And so lost. My mind is so lost. Contracted Jumpstarter. 3-resource space unit, 2/4 Sentinel. Again, I wanted a good 3-cost way to put down Sentinel in Cad Bane, and the 3-resource 3/2 Sentinel was absolute garbo, and I finally got a good 3-cost Sentinel card for that deck in Contracted Jumpstarter. And I'm very happy about that because it's also yellow, which makes running something like a Gamorrean Guards feel way better because then there's way less of a likelihood for me to just play it and not have any yellow units out and then just feel sad. But anyways, Houndstooth, another card for Cad Bane, a 3-resource, 4/3 space unit. It is a super rare, but it says while attacking an exhausted unit that didn't enter play this phase, this unit deals combat damage before the defender. I love this guy because it's basically a 3-resource, 4/3 first strike in a sense. It's kind of like a space version of Boba Fett. It is worse, but it is still really good. It is still really, really good. And I do like this card a lot. I didn't have it in Cad Bane, the initial list for Cad Bane for this set. And I'm like, as I just kept looking at it and thinking about it, I'm like, no, this really is just that good of a card. It just really is, like, that good. But yeah, now it's in the deck, and I'm very happy about it because this card is really good. Then there's Mist Hunter, a 3-resource, 3/4 space unit that on attack, if you've played a Bounty Hunter or Pilot card this phase, you may draw a card. Draft chaff, basically, unfortunately. Then there's Bosk, super rare, 4-resource, 4/4 that on attack, exhaust a defender and deal 1 damage to it if it's a unit. And then for 2 resources, you can pilot it as a 2/2, and the attached unit gets this on attack. That's the same thing as the on attack for Bosk. It's good, I guess. It is good to a point. Then there's Moff Gideon, 4-resource, 5/4 ground unit that says when this unit deals combat damage to an opponent's base, each unit that opponent plays this phase costs 1 more. Honestly, I think this card could see play in decks somewhere. I don't know what decks would really want to play this because I don't know. I don't really know. The card's good, but I just don't know where you would play it, is the issue. It's kind of like the Kira from set 2. It's like, it's good, I just don't know where to play it. Pretty much is kind of like how that card works. But then there's Boba Fett, a really good rare in limited. Outside of that, I don't really know. It's a 5-resource, 5/4 shielded that pilots for 2, 2/3 upgrade that says when you play as an upgrade, you may deal 1 damage to a unit. If the attached unit is a transport, you get to deal 2 instead. Solid, but I don't really think it's going to be played and constructed that much, which just sucks. Then there's Techno Union Transport, 5-resource, 4/6 shielded. It is Separatist, so who knows, maybe in a deck like Dooku Yellow, I mean, the card, I don't really know, honestly. But then there's Invincible. Speaking of Dooku, 6-resource, 6/6, that's while you control a unique Separatist card, which does include the leader from what I've been told, this unit costs 1 less to play. So if you're playing one of the Separatist decks, you always are paying 5 resources at most for this. I say at most because exploit is a thing that exists. But when you deploy a leader, you may return a non-leader unit that costs 3 or less to its owner's hand. So it's a 5-resource 6/6 that you could play on turn 2 very efficiently and easily in a deck like Count Dooku. And then, you get to get some value off of this later on in the game. Or, you can just have a 6/6 on turn 2. I mean, that's pretty good too, from what I've been told. But yeah. Then there is In Debt to Crimson Dawn, a 2-resource upgrade that gives no buff in any way, and says when the attached unit readies, exhaust it unless its controller pays 2. You put this on opposing units, obviously, but it's really annoying. It's really, really annoying in limited. I can already see that card being played against me tonight, and I'm like, oh my god, I want to strangle you. Pretty much. But I Have You Now is an event that kind of stinks. It says attack with a vehicle unit, and you prevent all damage that would be dealt to it during this attack. It's just not. It doesn't really do enough to where it's just not good. It just isn't good. Then there's Heartless Tactics, a 2-resource event that says exhaust a unit. It gets -2 power for this phase, and then if it has 0 power and it isn't a leader, you may return it to its owner's hand. I mean, art, first off, sick. Sick art. But beyond that, draft chaff. Likely. Yeah, draft chaff. Then there is cat and mouse. Cut and mouse? What does that even mean? Cat and mouse. I like that. For Trench, I like Trench as a character. I like his little strategical games and mind games. That's why I like Thrawn so much. But the leader, still hate it. And I really wish that Thrawn was a better leader too. Because I like them both a lot. They're really cool strategists. I really like cool strategy dudes to be leaders and to play them. And anyways, again, I'm losing my mind because I don't know how to talk anymore. But it's a 3-resource event that says exhaust an enemy unit, and if you do, you ready a friendly unit in the same arena with power equal to or less than the enemy unit. It's solid. It's not great. I mean, it's not rare that's basically like, alright, I am really niche. I can only really be played in really niche case scenarios. Enjoy. So, yeah, there's that. There is that. Then there is Dagger Squadron Pilot, a 1-resource 2/1 with piloting that gives a +2/+1 buff. Good card, I guess. In limited. Nowhere else. Anakin Skywalker, 2-resource 2/3 that pilots, gives 2/3 buff, and when an attached unit completes an attack and survives, you return this upgrade to its owner's hand. So you can kind of flip it around where you want to, depending on what's going on. But, solid card, I guess. In limited, beyond that, again, no, draft chaff. But Fireball, 2-resource 3/3 ambush, great in Kaz. Because when the regroup phase starts, you deal 1 damage to this unit, which is a really big feels bad because, 2-resource 3/3 ambush, it's like, oh, sweet, this guy's gonna survive, and just be a buff for 8 because it's dealing 3 damage, and then, if the opponent can only deal 2 damage, like I play this on turn 1, the opponent plays a 2/3, and then I attack with this, and then, oh, it's got 1 health left. If you're not playing Kaz, then it just dies at the end of the phase. But if you are, well, you get to remove that ability, and then Fireball gets to stick around for 1 more turn than you thought it would. Or the opponent invests resources into it, and you still got value out of it. At least surviving. But then there's Blade Squadron B-Wing, a 3-resource 3/3 space unit. When played, if another player controls 3 or more exhausted units, you give a shield token to a unit. Fine in Akbar, I guess. I don't know. Shuttle Tiderium. Cool. It's a super rare, at least. It's a 3-resource 2/4 space unit that on attack, you get to discard a card from your deck. If it has an odd cost, you may give an experience token to another unit. Card's just only good in decks that care about the top of their deck, which is only Han Solo, basically. At least in this combination of aspects. So that's great, I guess. Then there's Ahsoka, 4-resource 3/5 rare, that when played, an opponent discards a card from their hand, and if it's a unit, you may exhaust a unit. I mean, that could be pretty good. Again, it's kind of niche, but it could be pretty good. But then there is Black Squadron Scout Wing, 5-resource 4/6. When you play an upgrade on this unit, you may attack with a unit, and it gets +1 power for the attack. Pretty solid. Pretty solid. In limited. Nowhere else. Literally nowhere else. But then there's Han Solo, 5-resource 4/5 ambush, pilots for 2, 2/3 buff. Great legendary, because when played as an upgrade, you may attack with the attached unit, and if it's the Millennium Falcon unit, deals combat damage before the defender, so it gets first strike if it's the Millennium Falcon. But yeah, this is a really good card. And yeah, that's it. And it's more good cards for Han Solo, and I'm still very glad that I've never played against a Han Solo, because from what I've been told and from what I've seen, it does not look fun, literally at all. Then there's Home 1, another legendary. And it's a 9-resource 7/8 that says, if an opponent controls 3 or more space units, this costs 3 less to play, and it's a 7/8 with ambush. That's a big body, and that hurts a lot. It hurts a lot. It kills something, and it's likely going to stick around unless, again, the opponent puts resources into it, and you still feel good about it. Because you still get to basically 2-for-1 the opponent. But then there's Commercial Patrol, a 1-resource event that says put another card in the discard pile on the bottom of its owner's deck. If you do, you create an X-Wing token. I guess it's good and limited, maybe. I honestly have no idea. This card's just really weird. Well, it's not weird, it's just really strange, I guess. But Fly Casual, 1-resource event that says ready a vehicle unit. It can't attack bases for the phase. I just hate cards that have that line that says it can't attack bases for the phase right after it's read something really cool, and it just takes it away. When I initially read this card, I'm like, oh, I get to ready a vehicle. Oh, I get to ready a vehicle, and then it can only like ambush, but I don't really get the surprise of it. So, yay! So yeah, Fly Casual. So much could have been really cool if you got rid of one line. Though to be fair, it'd probably be way too good if it costs 1 resource to do that. But yeah, anyways. Jam Communications. It looks nothing like it does in Mandalorian, the devil dude, but still really cool because, I mean, I love the Mandalorian. Who doesn't? But it's a 1-resource event that says look at an opponent's hand and discard an event from it. The card itself, awful. But, I mean, it's from the Mandalorian, so, you know, that's cool. But then there is Never Tell Me the Odds, a super rare with the art that just really looks strange. And it's a 3-resource event that says discard 3 cards from an opponent's deck and 3 cards from your deck. Deal damage to a unit equal to the number of cards with an odd cost discarded this way. Absolute garbage. Awful card. No, I don't want to copy the link. But It's a Trap is up next. It's a 3-resource event that says if an opponent controls more space units than you, you ready each space unit you control. Good in draft. Probably not anywhere else, realistically. And then there is the Mandalorian, a 5-resource double cunning 5/6. 1 played as a unit. You can exhaust up to 2 ground units. Pretty good start, I guess. It is double cunning, which does stink, but you can pilot it for 2, and it's a 3/1 upgrade that says 1 played as an upgrade. You get to exhaust an enemy unit in this arena. Okay, I guess. It is an uncommon, but okay. Independent Smuggler, 1-resource 1/1 raid 1 that pilots 1/1 buff, and it gives the attached unit raid 1. Good and limited. Nowhere else. Again. Republic Y-Wing, 1-resource 1/3. Sidon, sure, that's the last name that you can have. It's a 2-resource 2 that says 1 plays a unit. You may attach this unit as an upgrade to an enemy vehicle unit without a pilot on it, and it gives whatever that thing is that you're putting it onto a -2/-2 debuff, which is cool. It is a rare, which sucks, but yeah, man, it's fine, cool, I guess. But then there is X-34, again, only really going to be good and limited, which stinks, especially considering it's a rare. Would be really good if it was an uncommon, but beyond that, it's, yeah. X-34 Land Speeder. 2-resource 2/3 ambush. I mean, cool? Kind of? Limited? Fun time? Thing? I don't even know where this card is good in this set. It's not good and limited. I mean, I don't know why I said cool to this card at all. I'm just losing my mind, but this card's just awful. Just awful. But Boshek. 3-resource 3/4 pilots for 2, 1/2 buff. 1 plays an upgrade. You get to discard 2 cards from your deck. Return each of those cards with an odd cost to your hand. Sorry about that. Contracted Hunter. The card that I was talking about a very, very long time ago when I was talking about Cass. Because this is that 3-resource 4/4 ambush that when the regroup phase starts, you defeat this unit. Good in Cass. And to a point in limited. And nowhere else. Nowhere else. Death Space Skirmisher is up next. 3-resource 3/3. When played, if you control another space unit, you may exhaust a unit. Draft Chaff. Guerrilla Soldier. 3-resource 2/3. When played, you deal 3 indirect damage to a player. And if a base is dealt damage this way, ready a unit. Ready this unit. Draft Chaff. Rafa Martez. Rafa Marte, whatever. 3 resource 3/3. When played on attack, you deal 1 damage to a friendly unit and ready a resource. I don't even know if this is Draft Chaff. This is another one of those cards. It's like, where, like, what? Why is this an uncommon? Anyways. Skyway Cloud Car. 3 resource 3/3. When defeated, you may return a non-leader unit with 2 or less power to its owner's hand. Okay, I guess it's fine. Sort of. Draft Chaff, question mark. If it's even that good. Stolen AT Hauler, 3 resource 4/5. That is really good in Kaz. Because that when defeated really sucks. You say the opponent, you get to choose an opponent. And for this phase, they may play this unit from your discard pile for free. So, really insane body. 3 resource 4/5 in space is absurd. But the opponent might get to use it if, it dies. But, I mean, if then you get to kill it, then you get to play it again. But still, that one defeated stinks. But if you're playing Kaz, well, you get to turn off that one defeated. So, it gets a lot better. It is a legendary. That's pretty much only good in one deck. But, it's still whatever you want to think of that. Then there's Kimogila Heavy Fighter. Wow, these names are fun to say. It's a 4 resource 3/4 space unit. When played, you deal 3 indirect damage to a player. Exhaust each unit damages away. That's cool. That is cool. Draft Chaff. Marking it down in that category again. Probably 90% of the set. Though to be fair, that's true for every TCG pretty much ever. Then there's the Razor Crest. 4 resource 3/5. When a pilot attaches to this unit, you may play or you may return a non-leader unit that costs 2 or less, or an exhausted non-leader unit that costs 4 or less to its owner's hand. It's good and limited. Don't get me wrong. It's good and limited. But beyond that, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to really see play outside of limited. I could see it getting played outside of limited, but I don't know if it's going to. It probably will in like some deck as a 1-of, or maybe a 2-of, but yeah. Then there is Shadowed Hover Tank, 4 resource 5/3 Sentinel. Draft Chaff. Corporate Light Cruiser, 6 resource 4/6 Ambush Raid 1. Actually pretty solid ground unit for limited for this set, because, I mean, 6 resource, basically 5/6 ambush is really solid. But beyond that, Draft Chaff. Oh, wait, no, it's a space unit. Oh, I thought it was a ground unit. No, it's still good, but it's a lot worse because, ambush for ground is a lot better in this set in limited than it is in space, because they're both equally good, but it is better in ground to a point if, you don't have ground units and then the opponent sticks down something you can't get rid of, and if you draw something like this, it's like, haha, I have the answer. Anyways, Radiant 7 is up next. A 7 resource, haha, funny, 5/6, that says each enemy non-leader unit gets -1 power for each damage on it. So you give all of your opponent's stuff anti-grit or opposite grit. I mean, it could be good. It is a legendary, so it's like, okay, well. But when you do play it, you get to deal 5 indirect damage to a player. Now, in combination with something like a Devastator, this card could be playable. Beyond that, unfortunately not. Unfortunately, probably not. Probably not going to see this card anywhere, which stinks because it is a legendary. Then there is Super Heavy Ion Cannon, a 2 resource 0/3 upgrade, and it says you attach it to a capital ship or a transport unit. Okay, and then the attached unit gets this on attack that says you may exhaust a non-leader unit the defending player controls, and if you do, you deal indirect damage equal to his power to that player. Solid, I guess? Question mark? In limited? Beyond that, no. No. Not at all. Barrel Roll, 1 resource event that says attack with a space unit. After completing this attack, you may exhaust a space unit. that could be good and limited. And nowhere else. Diversion. 1 resource, give a unit Sentinel for the phase. Cool. Still only good and limited. Draft Chaff. Draft Chaff as well. 1 resource, event, deal 2 damage to a droid or vehicle unit and exhaust it. Actually, you know what, never mind. This card might see play in some decks. It is cool. It is some cool tech. But I don't really see it being played in any constructed decks. Maybe certain decks that really get hosed by vehicles, basically space units. But beyond that, I just don't see it getting played in any constructed deck. But then there is Punch It, 1 resource event that says attack with a vehicle unit. It gets +2 power for the attack. So it's kind of like a surprise strike, except it attacks for a little bit less, but it costs less. So that's cool. But it can only be for vehicles. So there's that too. Draft Chaff, if you couldn't tell. But jump to Lightspeed. 2 resource event. It's a rare. It says return a friendly space unit and any number of non-leader upgrades on it to their owner's hands, which is cool because if you put pilots on your stuff or other upgrades, you know, it kind of sucks to lose them. But then the next time you play a copy of that unit, this phase, you may play it for free. So that's cool because, you know, it makes stuff cost less. So, I mean, that could always be cool. It's kind of like a way to reset the damage on something. But beyond that, it's not great. I mean, it's another rare that's, like, really niche. Which I don't get why that's how rares work in this game, but that's just me. Then there's Sweep the Arena. 3 resource event, uncommon, return up to 2 non-leader units in the same arena with a combined cost 3 or less to their owner's hands. I don't really think this card is that good outside of limited. Well, it's not good outside of limited, but yeah, even in limited, it's not that good. It's kind of, yeah, I don't know. Torpedo Barrage, 3 resource event that says deal 5 indirect damage to a player. Cool. Commandeer. It's a 5 resource event that says take control of a non-leader vehicle unit that costs 6 or less without a pilot on it, and if you do, you ready it, and at the start of the regroup phase, return that unit to its owner's hand. Actually, pretty solid rare. Pretty solid rare. It does suck that it can only be for vehicles. But beyond that, I mean, it is really solid in limited. Beyond that, I could see it getting played in some decks here and there. But realistically, probably not. It is cool, though. I do like this card. It's kind of like Change of Heart, but basically rare. It's just a rare instead of a legendary, so it's got to be worse, you would think. So, yeah. Then getting into the villainous cards, and the heroism cards, and the generics. So finally getting to the last bunch of cards. Thank God. But Indoctrinated Conscript. 1 resource, 1/2. Pilots for 1, 1/2 buff. Draft Chaff. TIE Bomber. 2 resource, 0/4. On attack, deal 3 indirect damage to the defending player. Not Draft Chaff. I mean, it's great in draft. And in limited. But beyond that, it will see play in decks. And if it doesn't, I'm going to be very sad. Because I like this card a lot. It's kind of like that green Squadron Y-Wing from the second set. That Heroism one that says, on attack, the opponent chooses to deal either 2 damage to their base or 2 damage to one of their units. TIE Bomber is like that, but for villainous. And of course, because it's villainous, it's better. Because the villains are always more powerful than the heroes. Unless the heroes basically, yeah. Why can I not think of the words? Yeah, anyways. Sith Trooper, 3 resource, 3/3. On attack, this unit gets +1 power for this attack. Plot armor. That's what I was trying to think of. Plot armor. But anyways, 3 resource, 3/3 on attack. This unit gets +1 power for the attack for each damage unit the defending player controls. Yeah. Okay. Draft Chaff. Tie Dagger Vanguard. 3 resource, 2/2. When played, you may deal 2 damage to a damaged unit. Really good in draft. Outside of that, yeah, I don't... no. Fet's Fire Spray. 4 resource, space unit, 4/4, super rare. When played on attack, you deal 1 indirect damage to a player. And if you control Boba Fett as a unit, upgrade, or leader, you deal 2 indirect damage instead. Solid enough. But then there is Rogue Class Starfighter, 4 resource, 4/3 space unit, Sentinel, that is Separatist. Why could this card not have gotten printed in the last set? It's a Separatist card. Just give... I'm so, if you couldn't tell, really pissed that this card was never printed in the last set. I don't get why it wasn't, because, God, decks like Dooku desperately needed a cheap Sentinel thing in space. And of course, in the set where now that's kind of nullified, you get it. If you couldn't tell, I don't like that at all. But anyways, Shuttle ST-149. 4 resource, 3/4 shielded. Really good looking. 1 played, 1 defeated. You may take control of a token upgrade on a unit and attach it to a different eligible unit. So this card, actually, surprisingly, is probably going to be really good in Gar Saxon. Basically, a 4 resource, 4/4 shielded because of Gar Saxon, how it works. And 1 played, and when you defeat it, you get to steal one of your opponent's upgrades, put it on one of yours. Dudes, and if it's not already upgraded, Gar Saxon gives it a buff. So it's really neat how that's working, but really cool. I think Gar Saxon with this set is actually going to be really good and really fun, and I'm looking forward to that. That's the deck where I'm playing yellow. Oh my gosh. I was thinking forever, I'm like, where can I slot yellow into a deck with that new base that I really want to play? Gar Saxon. Dummy. But then there's Quasar TIE Carrier. 6 resource, 5/7 on attack. Create a TIE Fighter token. A draft? There is no escape. 2 resource event. Choose up to 3 units. Those units lose all abilities and can't gain abilities for this round. If you couldn't tell, I'm really tired of how rares work in this game 99% of the time. Anyways, Heroism, R2-D2, 1 resource, 1/4, pilots for 0, 1/1 buff. And this upgrade can be played on a friendly vehicle unit with a pilot on it, which is really cool. In the attached unit games, you may play or deploy 1 additional pilot on this unit, which is really cool. I really like this R2. I think this card is going to be absurdly good in draft and really, really good outside of draft too, in any like Wedge or Luke or decks like that. Why? Okay. Why did I not bring this up in my pre-release guide? What was I thinking? R2 is like 99. Somebody watching this video, go back to my last video, my draft guide video, and scream at me in the comments, why did I not mention R2-D2 over Resistance X-Wing? This card is garbage compared to R2-D2. I am so sorry. I am so sorry to all of you. But, man, God, what the heck? Anyways, Hopeful Volunteer, 2 resource, 1/3, pilots for 2, and it's a 1/3 buff. That's garbage. Resistance X-Wing, 2 resource, 2/2, while it has a pilot on it, and it gets +1/+1. Pretty awful. Dilapidated Sky Speeder. It's a 3 resource, 3/7, that when played, you deal 3 damage to this unit. Good in draft in a deck like Kira, or not Kira, like Rose, but beyond that, awful. Absolutely awful. Millennium Falcon, 3 resource, 3/4, super rare that says you may play or deploy 1 additional pilot on this unit, and this unit gets +1 power for each pilot on it. That's pretty cool. So it could be a 3 resource, 5/4, if the things you're pointing onto this don't buff it at all, which I don't know like how that would be possible, but okay. Yeah, anyways. Sabine's Masterpiece, 3 resource, 3/3 that on attack. If you control a blue unit, you heal 2 from a base. If you control a green unit, you give an experience token to a unit. If it's a red unit, you deal 1 damage to a unit base. If it's a yellow unit, you exhaust or ready a resource. This card is really cool and really neat. Beyond that, though, I mean, I don't really think it's going to be played. Which stinks, because it is really cool. And I do really like this card, thematically wise. Because it's the whole rainbow. It's the rainbow. It's Sabine's Masterpiece, because she's the arty. Anyways. 6 resource, 6/7 space unit. Jedi Light Cruiser. That's a cool card. Tentative 4. It's a 5/7 Sentinel. When played, you get to create an X-Wing. Cool, I guess. It's a little bit too costly and limited. And, yeah. Coordinated Front, 2 resource event. Says you may give a ground unit +2/+2 for the face. And you may give a space unit +2/+2 for the face. It's Draft Chaff. Dedicated Wingman, 4 resource. Create 2 X-Wing tokens. Draft Chaff. Then getting into generic Aspectless, finally, 1 resource, 1/1, pilots for 1, gives a 1/1 buff. I mean, if you need more pilots, it is pretty solid and limited. Beyond that, it is awful. Awful. Swarming Vulture Droid. 2 resource, 2/2, a deck can have up to 15 copies of this card, and this unit gets +1 power for each other friendly Swarming Vulture Droid. This card, really funny, honestly. Taking a page out of Magic's book, like it does for a lot of things. But, Swarming Vulture Droid, it's a fun meme of a card, pretty much. Serves pretty much no other purpose or point. Flanking Feigned Fighter, 3 resource, 2/3, that while you control another fighter unit, this unit gains Raid 2, which is really cool. And then Corellian Freighter, 5 resource, 4/4 Sentinel. It's a reprint, so I want to go over it. But retrofitted Airspeeder, 5 resource, 3/6 ambush, can't attack space units, or can attack space units. It is a ground unit. And while this is attacking a space unit, it gets -1 power. Actually pretty solid and limited, but it is an uncommon, which for some reason, Aspectless, uncommons are impossible to pull. Which is annoying, because Mercenary Gunship I can never pull copies of. But then Death Star plans. This card's you're probably never going to see a copy of this card ever. And I'm just going to kind of sit here and stare at it for a second as I talk to you about this and how awful this card is. I mean, this card's dumb. The art's really cool. I mean, if you see Vader in the background just walking, he's like the devil just walking towards you. He's like, get ready to die. But, I mean, beyond that, card is shit. Attack Run, 1 resource event, attack with 2 space units. Good in draft, nowhere else. Evasive Maneuver, 2 resource event, exhaust a unit. And that's it. I have finished everything, and that's the set review. Hope you all enjoyed. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It's completely free. You don't regret it. And have a great rest of your day, everybody. I have lost my mind.